biggest bad guy character in professional wrestling.
When's the last time you got laid?
French Toast is the exchange student that you have like a 3-week affair with.
Hey, we can see that you don't have pants on.
Can we tell the truth about Dusty sooner or later?
Bro, less people wanted that than are currently watching our stream.
And you know Vince, and you still think, are these true? It's like...
Welcome to the Mark It Down podcast.
Hello, everybody. Happy New Year, and welcome to the first Gympact of 2025. I know you guys have missed me because I've missed you. It's been a while since we've covered TNA, and for the first time, it's not my fault. We have been in the holiday season, and TNA, being the generous company that it is, knew not to run anything new for a while. Daniel Hernandez asking, where's Nick? Same place Danny and Rev are. Not here, unfortunately. It's a bummer, but happy to have you here, Daniel Hernandez, in the comments. You're a good person and a good friend, I would assume. I've never met you before. But TNA doing the right thing, not giving me any shows to cover for 2 weeks. Really appreciated it. Really needed the break. Really needed the recharge, and I think they're starting the new year on not the right foot. You can't really be on the right foot with Tessa Blanchard back in the company, but storyline-wise, we're in a good direction. Of course, I am here by myself tonight, me, James Gisanti, making this the Gympact zone of the Mark It Down podcast. I have no producer boy, so I got to do all the social media on my own. Yes, that is a subtle but not so subtle dig at our producer boy, who was very generous to offer me help, and now that I need it, nowhere to be found. But the show started with the hottest act of the company. Well, I take that back, actually. We didn't really start off in the ring. We started with a preview of Tessa Watch, as we had the Knockouts make their entrance from earlier in the day, coming into the arena and, looking badass. We had Jordynne Grace, current Knockouts champion Masha Slamovich, and the Knockouts tag team champion Spitfire, all who are going to be on one side of the main event tag team match later tonight. Coming in, Jordynne, last we saw her having been ambushed by Tessa Blanchard at the pay-per-view. She's got a bone to pick. She's got a bone to pick with Tessa, as I'm sure a lot of women do. But she has a bone to pick with Tessa right now. And Tessa Blanchard, who made it clear that this is her division. Jordynne Grace, I don't think she's going to take that too kindly. Just dealing with social media now, guys. Give me a second. If you are watching me on YouTube, thank you. Always appreciated. But we're not just on YouTube right now. We're all over the interwebs. We're on the TikTok. We're on, right now we're live, I think, on X. And I got to deal with those peeps too. They're nice-ish. They can be. Wrestling X is scary. Most X is scary. But after that intimidating walk-in, we do start the show with the hottest act in professional wrestling 6 months ago, Joe Hendry. If you believe it, he is the #1 contender once again for Nick Nemeth's World Championship. He is getting ready to challenge Red X is scary. I mean, Red X, he's kind of cool. He's kind of cool, depending on who's wearing the mask. Chemical X. Now that's scary. That's scary. I don't know what the professor was thinking using Chemical X. I know it was an accident, but how do you just have that willy-nilly in your lab? These are the real questions we've got to be asking ourselves. But that's for a completely different pod. Good question, though. Were you guys a Nickelodeon kid or were you a Cartoon Network kid growing up? These are the things that we need to know at the Mark It Down podcast. As again, I'm sorry, guys, I am dealing with Twitter right now. Hating on Chemical X. You really do hate women, especially NXT women with dyed hair. Is that officially their name? Are they officially Chemical X? I've seen a few people, I think even some people from our own podcast, who are pushing for them to be the Hex Girls. And, you know, it's not wrong. Like, again, kind of goes into the Nickelodeon cart. No, because what was that Scooby-Doo movie even on? Is that on Cartoon Network? Danny, be my man in the chair. Find this stuff out for me. Doing her thing. There you go. All done with Twitter. All done with Twitter. Sorry, guys. They do call themselves that, but the graphic didn't confirm it from what you saw. Okay. You know what? Fine. Fine. All right. Chemical X. I don't hate that group. I think that's going to be really, really fun to watch. Again, the Hex Girls, though, was right there. But regardless of all that, Joe Hendry, TNA #1 contender, having won the Fatal 4-Way at the pay-per-view back in December, he says he leads the fans in a "We Believe" chant. He says that his New Year's resolution for 2025 is to become the TNA World Champion and start the Joe Hendry era. As the fans are 100% buying it, as the fans are 100% eating out of the palm of his hand, Ryan Nemeth, who has been killing it, in my opinion, as this annoying little brother character to Nick Nemeth. Just a little bit of a sidebar. Ryan Nemeth has always been a really stand-up dude in the industry, and he's never really gotten a fair rap. Very public what happened with him in his time in NXT. It's become more public about what happened with him in the end of his run in AEW. And now we're seeing him actually be a part of stories now here in TNA. Granted, they're his brother's stories, but he has carried himself admirably. He's carried himself, maybe not admirably, because he is definitely the shitty little brother heel character. But as a performer, Ryan Nemeth has been killing it. So I'm very happy for him. And this is definitely the era of annoying, entertaining characters. We're getting that a little bit with Ricochet in AEW. We're getting that now. We've been getting it forever with Dominic Mysterio in WWE, and now we're getting it a little bit with Ryan Nemeth, and all played very differently. So really fun thing to see developing across wrestling right now. But Ryan comes out and he talks about his big brother, as he just so passionately said multiple times throughout the night, actually. He tells Joe Hendry that he's not a main eventer, that his brother is not going to like this. There you go. Look who we got here. He is a mid-carder. Really? That's what we're doing, Ryan Nemeth. We're calling other people mid-carders. He says he is a pretty good one, though. He also calls him a snake and a backstabber. And he tries to play, and he says that he tries to play macho head games to get ahead in TNA. He says that neither he nor his brother Nick trust Joe Hendry. Hendry admires Ryan's ability to come out here and tell these little stories. He also asks if he wants to hear a little story of his own. He then talks about going to the doctor about sleep issues, that he can't sleep on these long flights that he has to take. He says that the doctor told him he had just the thing, and he told Joe that he asked him, have you ever heard of a Ryan Nemeth comedy special? That was diabolical. He has been dogging. He has just been boying Ryan Nemeth for what feels like months now at this point. He says if he thinks that he's a mid-carder, that means Ryan is a janitor. So go mop up that floor and get Joe Hendry a coffee. The fans were just absolutely into this. He said, as a response, Nemeth says that he has main eventer business to attend to, and it's not enough for, and that's enough stealing TV time for Joe. Hendry says that's enough glory for Ryan, and he says that he's going to get all the glory, and Nemeth says he's going to get all the glory he wants when he beats Hall of Famer Rhino later tonight. Hendry then says, not later tonight, but now. And that leads us to an impromptu match that we all knew we were getting, but shocked our guy for some reason that we got it in the first matchup of the night as Rhino, Hall of Famer Rhino, took on Ryan Nemeth. This was a match. Nemeth tried begging his way out. He tried doing everything he could to not actually fight Rhino. Eventually, he brings in a chair, but before he could use it, Rhino blasts him, makes him drop it. Nemeth picks up the chair. Rhino picks up the chair, takes a long look at it, and then just drives it into the back of Nemeth. This gets the DQ. Rhino looks confused for some reason. I don't know why he would, but DQ. Ryan Nemeth crawls his way to the back. Sorry, guys. Still sick. Still dealing with that. And I don't have anyone else to bounce off of. So lung capacity, terrible right now. But that is the end of the matchup. Very unceremonious. Just it happened. Rhino hit him with the chair. And we go to what was next. What was next? It was just whatever. Look, Rhino, as you guys know, this taping, which concludes with next week's episode of Impact, was Rhino's last. We're not going to see Rhino anymore in TNA. It's a bummer if you're a fan of Rhino. I love Rhino. I love the gore, but that's it. I don't know why. There's a lot of rumors going around, and we're going to talk about the state of TNA a little bit at the end of the video, at the end of the review. But Rhino, if this is how you're leaving, man, I know we've got next week, and we'll talk about what he's doing next week in a bit. But what are we doing? He is a Hall of Famer. It should be a little bit better than this. Anyway, we go backstage for a backstage interview with Jordynne Grace, Mean Gia Miller, hardest working woman in TNA, backstage asking the Juggernaut about being attacked by the returning Tessa Blanchard at Final Resolution. Jordynne talks about Tessa taking her ball and going home. A lot of talk about that this week in professional wrestling. I don't know that she really took her ball. Like, I don't know how to describe the Tessa Blanchard situation other than, well, she did leave, but she was also asked not to come back. I think it's a very different situation. But she says that now she's trying to come back and lay claim to being leader of the locker room and reap the benefits off of the backs of the hard work that Jordynne and others put in while Tessa was gone. Jordynne then says she knows that's the same old Tessa. She vows to wait by the door all night to give Tessa the nice, warm welcome she truly deserves. I don't know what to tell you guys. There's a lot of discomfort about Tessa being with the company. There's a lot of people will refuse to accept it. I'm not happy about it. I've made that clear. I'm not thrilled she's there, but she's there. I'm going to do my best to be objective when talking about her. I'm going to do my best to be objective about talking about the story she's involved in. But I'm just not a fan of Tessa Blanchard, the person. By all accounts, she was a strong performer. Hell, there's a reason she's the first woman to win the world championship in TNA, the men's world championship in TNA. So we need to acknowledge certain aspects of her. I'm going to do my best to not bring up the person she is every week when we report TNA, but we are starting again here in 2025, so we do need to address certain things. And yeah, the reality is a lot of fans are turned off by her presence there. That's spun into other things with other people online talking and defending Tessa, people who they themselves don't necessarily have the cleanest rap sheet. And we'll talk about that champion later on the show. But the reality is, like I said, these people are here to stay for however long. And as long as they're here to stay and they're part of the show and I'm covering TNA, I'm going to have to do my best. Eric, we love your presence. We just don't necessarily love what's inside those presents. I know I'm using wordplay, but you is strong, you is smart, you is important, and we do love you. But yeah, that's all I'm going to talk about, those aspects of this person and the reality of that situation. So sorry, you're not going to get that many sound bites out of me moving forward regarding Tessa. I think I said everything I had to say when she actually made her return. And I hope, for the sake of everybody, that she was able to turn her shit around and be a person worthy of being in a locker room amongst other people. I hope she was able to make amends with everyone she needed to make. Go back, Eric. Go back. I gave you enough material, trust me. But I'm just not doing it tonight because, quite frankly, I don't have it in me anymore. She's there. We got to get used to it. But moving on, we then go to a backstage segment elsewhere backstage with the Hardys and the Rascals, both teams never having faced each other before. We are getting ready for a first time 2-on-2 matchup. And the Hardys, speaking with the Rascals backstage, they say that they remind them a lot of themselves. Matt says that both kids are talented, good looking, hungry, extreme, and fearless. He mentions Genesis in Texas later this month, and he thinks a big show like that deserves a big match like this. The Rascals claim they'll tear the roof off the place, smoke them if you got them, all four pose together to end what is an exciting segment if you're ready for a fun first-time matchup. I love the Rascals. I've really grown on them, or they've grown on me. Danny saying, let's spitball some catchphrases. Let me... One day, I will read the comments before I read them out loud. Today was not that day. I apologize. Shouldn't have put that up. But let's keep workshopping. Okay, Danny? Let's just keep workshopping. But look, the Rascals are, at this point, the longest, like, not homegrown, but like TNA team that they've got. With the ABC out of commission due to Chris Bay's injury, and just other teams having come and gone, we're looking at one of the most pure TNA tag teams there are right now in terms of the Rascals. And the Hardys, being the Hardys, legends that they are, this will be a great matchup for the Rascals, win or lose. The Rascals, they did talk about in the beginning of that segment that the Hardys are legends, and they talk about growing up doing swanton bombs off of their couches, growing up idolizing the Hardys. That's big for any tag team. So really looking forward to this at Genesis, really looking forward to this fun matchup. And Danny doesn't think it's going to get better than that. I have faith in you, kid. I have faith in you. So really excited for Genesis, really excited for this matchup. Moving on, we go to a very fun, very exciting X Division matchup as the time splitter KUSHIDA took on one half of the ABC, Ace Austin. Again, guys, 2025, not much has changed. Ace Austin, big guy here for us on the pod. We love this kid. We see a lot of potential for him. We've been talking about it, that he has so much potential at the top. And now that he's on his own due to the unfortunate circumstances regarding his partner, regarding Chris Bay, we're hoping that he's able to find some direction. And boy, does he have some now. This was a fun matchup, hard hitting. KUSHIDA has been operating on a different level these last few weeks. Absolutely channeling the strong style of Japan. Absolutely channeling a meaner edge, like not a heel thing, not a bad guy thing, but he's definitely hitting harder, and he's definitely more focused and more attack oriented than I can remember. Finish of the match coming, Ace Austin getting the win, initially going for the art of finesse, that getting countered, but able to hit the ace up his sleeve for the pinfall victory, getting the 1-2-3. After the match, Ace gets a really fun matchup. Go check it out. It's probably my matchup of the week in terms of TNA. All my boys are here tonight. I'm loving it. I appreciate you guys. After the match, Nick, pay attention. Pay attention, because this is what we've been talking about. After the match, Ace Austin gets on a microphone and he talks about how he appreciates so much the fans still cheering for the ABC, still cheering for him and supporting him on his own. He says that for the last 3 months, Chris Bay has been fighting to live a normal life, a better life. Jesus Christ, this injury had to have been fucking bad. And it sucks that TNA hasn't made it clear what it is. Like, we're able to put it together that this was a very bad neck injury, a career-threatening neck injury, a life-threatening neck injury. But the fact that nobody has said, this is what he suffered, this is how long he might be out, we shouldn't expect him anytime soon. It's putting the fans in a really weird spot. But regardless of all that, as Chris Bay is fighting for a better life, Ace Austin is fighting for him in the ring. He talks about right before Bay's surgery, they had a conversation, and Bay told him that this means that Ace has to go on a crazy singles run and win the big one for him. He talks about wanting to be the top guy in this company and having talked about it for a long time. And he thinks it's time now to be the top guy going for the top title. He says he wants Nick Nemeth and he wants the TNA World Championship. But before he can get too into it, he is cut off by our X Division champion, Moose. Moose is offended. Moose says that he's the franchise of TNA and that the X Division Championship is the flagship title in TNA. And without it, TNA wouldn't be what it is. He says that he is helping make TNA the hottest wrestling company on the planet right now. And Moose says that when Ace talks about going after that top title, that means he's talking about his title. That is a great way of elevating a title. It is. Like, I've been talking about it. We've been wanting this big man dominating the division type thing for a little bit. I wanted it initially with Jake something, but this works better with Moose because of his pedigree, because of his resume. Ace Austin versus Moose is a big TNA matchup. Moose is Mr. TNA, for better or for worse. For better or for worse, he is Mr. TNA. And I've been saying since the pandemic that Ace Austin should be carrying the flag for this company and that he is the future of this company as long as he chooses to stay with this company. So the fact that these two are going at it in a title match. Yep, sorry, kind of jumped up ahead a little bit on myself. That we'll get to there in a second. But the fact that these two are in the ring with each other right now is big. It's big for Ace Austin, and it's big for TNA. Moose continues saying that Ace is scared of him. He says, go ahead, take the easy way out and go after Nick Nemeth in the TNA title. Austin tries cutting him off, but Moose tells him to shut the hell up. He said, just like your partner, Chris Bay. This lights a fire in Ace Austin. Austin smacks the mic out of his face, and he calls Moose a disrespectful piece of shit. Do not talk about his partner, Chris Bay. He was rabid at this point. I loved it. He says, Austin says to Moose, maybe you don't know how to count this high, but I've been the X Division champion not once, not twice, but 3 times. And he says he's going to become a 4-time X Division champion happily right now. This brings out Santino Marella, the TNA Director of Authority. Santino says it'll be Moose versus Ace Austin for the X Division Championship at TNA Genesis 2025. Guys, most anticipated matchup of that show. Nick in the comments saying that this was probably his favorite Ace Austin promo. It is my favorite of his in a long time. Since probably starting to team up with Bay. Since like he was a heel in the X Division years ago, I'd say this is the most fired up I've seen him in a long, long time. I am all in on this kid. I don't know that I want him to beat Moose because I don't need him becoming X Division champion again. I'd rather him follow through going for the world title. 1 second, everybody. Sorry. But at the same time, a big championship win over Moose is huge. So let's do it. Let's have him win. Let's have him become the X Division champion, I guess, a fourth time. That win over Moose. Let him option C this thing and go to the world title. Let's make it happen. Boom. TNA Creative, you're welcome. So looking forward to that at Genesis. In a show that has the Hardys and a show that has Joe Hendry, this is now, I think, my most anticipated matchup of the night. Is the audio still out, Danny? Let me know, all right? Because that'd be awkward. But moving on to our next bit, we had a brief backstage segment with Steve Macklin, Eric Young, and Jonathan Gresham. Young checking on Macklin. They all agree that they're pissed off about what happened at the pay-per-view. They ask what they're going to do about it, and in walks the system without Moose. It's JDC, it's Brian Myers, and it is Eddie Edwards. At this point, they get in front of them. It's really awkward. And it ends up in a weird, like, brawl. I don't really know what this was other than to set up them wrestling again, and that's fine. But super awkwardly done. Whatever, though. They got Macklin on TV. I can live with that. Thank you for the update, Danny. The camera then pans over to Jordynne Grace, who is still, like, she's padding up. She's getting ready for the show later and still preparing for Tessa Blanchard. At this point, we then go, again, elsewhere backstage as the Nemeth brothers are talking about what happened. Ryan Nemeth is on the medical table getting worked on after this poor chair shot from Rhino. He keeps muttering, wait until my big brother hears about this. At this point, Nemeth is checking on him. He can't believe that Rhino would do this. Rhino comes in and says he brought the chair in, and I have no problem doing what I need to do with it after that. They're starting to go at it a little bit, and then Joe Hendry comes in, and we then have, of course, Santino Marella once again to announce that this will now be a tag match for next week. The Nemeth brothers versus Joe Hendry and Rhino. That is going to be Rhino's last match in TNA. Craziness to think about. We then go back inside the Impact Zone. We get to the ring, and we have. Ooh, do I not have it? Oh, I got to create that banner. That is on me. But we go back inside the Impact Zone as Mike Santana has issues with somebody who he has a long history with. Somebody who he has a long, not necessarily a singles history, but a tag history with. And that is Josh Alexander. Santana makes his way to the ring. He talks about his tough life on the streets growing up, his hard times in rehab, beating addiction. He talks about coming to TNA and becoming one of the best after people said he had made career suicide. I'm assuming by leaving AEW. Or that's what he's referring to. He says it's time for him to get back to the path of purpose, and that's becoming the standard of TNA. As he continues to talk, the theme for Josh Alexander and the Northern Armory hits. All three members come out. Alexander gets on the mic and says, everyone wants to be the guy, but very few can actually rise to the occasion and obtain it. He tells Santana he might not be who he is today if not for the wars between LAX and the North. He asks how that ended. He says he was beat by the North and sent packing, whereas the North became the longest reigning champions in the company's history. He then leans right into Santana's face and says he left for greener pastures. And what happened? He tells him that he failed. He says that he's the man who beat Christian Cage to become TNA World Champion. And he lost it before he could even wrap it around his waist, but he didn't piss and moan about it. He came out the next week, won again, beat Bronson Reed, hell of a name drop there, climbed up until he got back to the top of the mountain. It was destiny. And he says that Mike hasn't won a single championship since leaving and coming back to TNA. Little does he know that Mike Santana is the House of Glory World Champion. It's like he doesn't even work indies anymore. Oh, wait, that's true. He doesn't work indies anymore. Josh says, as long as he's in TNA, Mike Santana will never be the guy. Alexander and the Northern Armory are getting ready to leave when Santana stops them. He says, where are you going? He says that Alexander might be right. He stayed there and beat killer after killer to become the face of TNA. He says, now it was you, or because you were kissing ass and sucking up to the man with the pencil. Can't believe they dropped like a reference to Scott D'Amore there. Didn't think we would get a Scott D'Amore reference, but I'm happy that they did. He then brings up Josh's bald head. The crowd starts chanting, bald ass head, bald ass head. Josh is just fuming. That head is getting redder and redder. Santana says he can whoop all three of their asses. And he says, how about next week he goes through Josh and his entire squad in one night? He vows to prove what he says. He is what he says he is, which is the nastiest ever. And he says he'll see their bitch asses next week. TNA has an embarrassment of riches in terms of number one contenders for the world title. All guys who deserve to go for the world title. So Josh Alexander is a hell of an in-between feud for the world title. If you're Mike Santana, it's a great feud to have. But my God, if he goes through all of them, and he probably won't, he'll probably lose to Alexander in the end after going through the other two Northern Armory guys. But it's getting harder to justify not putting Santana in the title scene. It just is. Whatever. After that, we then have a what do we got? We have a Frankie Kazarian backstage segment where Frankie is doing a shtick, talking himself up as the king of TNA, talking about how great he is, blah, 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 blah. When he catches the eye of Kevin Knight. Young Kevin Knight, really happy for this kid. I think he won like TNA Prospect of the Year or something like that, or Rookie of the Year. Really happy for him getting some recognition. Nice guy. Happy to have met him at House of Glory. And really respectful and really talented young kid. My guys, I apologize. I said Kevin Knight. I meant Leon Slater. My bad. Notes got messed up here. But Slater doing his thing, saying that it's an honor to be talking to him. He would love to be under the tutelage of him. Is Frankie short for Franklin? I always thought it was short for Frankenfooter. Not sure. But Leon Slater saying that it'd be great to be under the tutelage of Frankie Kazarian, who had been singing his praises. But then Frankie made it clear that he just wanted somebody to carry his trophy. And Slater says that he appreciates the offer, but he's not somebody's errand boy. He then walks off. JDC comes in and they start making fun of Slater together. And kind of just go their separate way. It was weird. I don't know if both these guys are looking to court him and they're just throwing each other off the scent. But either way, I don't know what the point of any of that was. It was a little silly to me. We then go back inside the ring as we get a promo from Nick Nemeth. Nemeth talking to the crowd, almost sort of like a politician, you know. He says that, of course, he has a lot to say, so he's going to get right down to it. He talks about facing Joe Hendry at Bound for Glory, says that Hendry was this close to becoming TNA World Champion. Nemeth just keeps putting him over before pointing out how he can't keep putting him over because he's going to have to kick his ass in a couple of weeks. I thought that was a funny bit. He talks about representing the TNA locker room as the TNA World Champion, and he says that Genesis will be a special night. He knows Hendry is bringing everything he's got, and we all know he's coming to steal the show and stay our champion. He then brings up Santino, making a tag team match for himself for next week. As he's getting into it, he's cut off by his brother, Ryan. Ryan says, "My brother, Nick, it is so great to see you." He really just needs the world to know that he is his brother. Danny, I don't have it, but you might catch something. He asks why he's putting over Hendry. He reminds him that he's a snake. He says he'll hit him in the back the first chance that he gets, just like Rhino hit him in the back with a steel chair. He says they'll show everyone next week that the name Nemeth is synonymous with greatness. Nick then tells Ryan not to forget that he's only in this tag match next week because of him. He says he should be focusing on Genesis, but he says not to worry, they'll take care of business, and he walks off, leaving Ryan alone. Ryan, so he does not like Hendry, but now they're showing the seeds of dissent between the Nemeth brothers. If Ryan Nemeth is the reason that JBL gets involved or has been getting involved, I'm going to flip out. At least it's a reason, but it doesn't make sense. Moving on to our main event. Oh, hey, Chris. Happy New Year, Chris. I hope you had a happy, good one and a happy holiday season. And thank you for being with us as we move forward in 2025. But moving on to our main event, we have a Knockouts tag team match as we have the Knockouts World Champion Masha Slamovich teaming up with Jordynne Grace and the Knockouts tag team champion Spitfire against the new elegant team of Ash by Elegance and Heather Reckless, or Heather by Elegance, and Rosemary and Tasha Steelz. What comment do we got here? Oh, Chris, thank you for subscribing. We appreciate it. You know, I mean, you've been a regular for us for a long time. Thank you for helping making this place a bigger place. We appreciate you. Make it happier too. This knockouts match, look, TNA has a habit of putting lots of people in these big matchups together and having multiple feuds going on, highlighted in one tag match at once. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. This was fine. There's really nothing major to talk about in the matchup itself. We are definitely on the Jordynne Grace goodbye tour, unfortunately, if you're a TNA fan, because we all know she will be making the jump to WWE very, very shortly. Some would even say this month. But so we're getting Jordynne to wrestle as many women as possible. People she's worked with, people she hasn't worked with. Finish coming as Masha hits the pile driver, getting the 1-2-3. I wasn't sure. I apologize. I'm not entirely sure who she hit it on. My gut wants to say Rosemary, but don't quote me on that. Like I said, a lot of women, a lot of people to keep track of, and a lot of action at the finish. As the winning team celebrates, Tessa Blanchard finally makes her appearance, attacking from behind. She took out Jordynne, just knocking her down, beating her down before the other baby faces could get into it. The knockouts, the good knockouts are taken out by the bad knockouts. The elegancies take out the tag champs. Rosemary spits mist in the face of Masha Slamovich. An actual mist, not just spit like we saw on Dynamite last night. And just the brawl continues. We then cut to the back where Jordynne is being literally dragged out of the building by Tessa Blanchard. She wraps, I guess, Jordynne's bags around Jordynne's neck and then just drags her, choking her down the ramp. Tosses her outside and tells her, now I'm taking my locker room back. She pulls the garage door down, wipes her hands, wipes her feet, and then storms back to the arena, telling people to get out of her way. As we get back to the arena, we see that Ash by Elegance and Heather Reckless are holding the Knockouts tag team titles high above their head. And that is how we end the first Impact of 2025. Chris Leclerc saying that Jordynne Grace will be ready by the Rumble. Absolutely. I would be shocked. I think I would lose money if she does not show up in the Rumble. It would just be the biggest weird surprise to happen if she doesn't show up there, Chris. So I agree with you. Guys, like I said, it's been a few weeks, but we did it. We got through our first Impact of 2025. TNA took a break. We took a break. I came back sick. I'm working sick because I love you. I care about you. I'm sorry that I sound nasally. I'm sorry that I've been coughing. But this was a good episode of Impact. We had some good wrestling. We had some great character development. Ace Austin, I can't wait. I can't wait. The Hardys versus the Rascals is going to be fun. Joe Hendry, it feels like, I don't want to jinx it, but we're finally getting the Joe Hendry world title run coming up. Yeah, Chris, Jordynne was in last year's Royal Rumble, but it'll be different this year. Last year, she was representing TNA. This year, I think she's just going to be Team WWE moving forward, which good for WWE, bad for TNA. But that's how it goes. I did talk about earlier that I would get into, I guess, the state of TNA moving forward and how it seems that we're losing a lot of guys, people. Speedball Mike Bailey, gone. Expected to be in AEW very soon. Jordynne Grace, gone. Soon to be gone. Expected to go to WWE. Trent Seven, not renewed. Steph DeLander, not renewed. AJ Francis, looks to be gone, not renewed. We're seeing a lot of names leaving the company. A lot of names that have been focal points to TNA in the last several months, in the last year, in the last several years. So we're looking at will probably be another transitional time in TNA's history. It's scary. We know that they're capable of getting through these times. They've done it before. Chris, I agree with you, pal. Joe Hendry better win the TNA World Championship this year. We're running out of time. I think I didn't mention his name, but yeah, more than likely we're losing Joe Hendry to WWE too. So this is the time to push talent up as other talent are going out. Ace Austin ascending to the main event scene. Huge. The Rascals potentially going over the Hardys. Huge. Good and bad. Tessa Blanchard coming back to take over the Knockouts division. I saw that reported too, Danny. I heard one thing, I heard another. He didn't show up on TV this week. He didn't do the tapings, which makes sense. If he was in contract negotiations, he probably wasn't working. But okay, look, you know what? I got two people telling me that he did. I hope he did. I hope he does. I heard that initially he didn't re-sign, so maybe it's that he signed a new contract after the fact, after testing out free agency, because we do know he did show up backstage at a few places. But point being, and thank you both for correcting me, point being, TNA is going to be in this weird transitional phase again. Their roster is always going to be a revolving door. Until they have a bigger TV deal, until they're treated like a bigger deal, they're never going to have the stability that guys in AEW have, and of course the guys in WWE have. It's a shame, but it allows for opportunity for the people that stay there. Jordynne Grace became the juggernaut that she became when Deonna Purrazzo left, when Taya Valkyrie left, when Mickie James hung it up. It is the land of opportunity. It is the land of growth. I said Ace Austin. I said the Rascals. If you're a knockout right now, Ash by Elegance finally going to win a title, winning the tag titles, hopefully very soon off of Spitfire. I'm hoping, I'm rooting for them to see this transitional phase be less bumpy than it has been in the past. But we'll see. And now to the fans of TNA, or the fans of wrestling who have issues with TNA, you're all kind of right. If you've got an issue with Tessa Blanchard being there, you're not wrong in the slightest. If you've got an issue with Moose being there and being a champion there, given his history, you're not wrong. You're right. You have every moral right to feel the way you feel. I'm not rooting for certain people. I called Moose Mr. TNA before, and unfortunately he is. Biggest contract in the company's history, one of the biggest resumes in the company today. He is Mr. TNA in a lot of ways. Got to talk about him. Tessa Blanchard. I did all my spiel about her already. Got to talk about her. I'm rooting for Ace Austin. I'm rooting for Jordynne Grace, even though I know she's not winning. Point is, TNA is a lot bigger and a lot better than its negatives. I believe in Joe Hendry. I'm rooting for Ace Austin. That Knockouts division is thin right now. It's thinner than it's been in a long, long time. But it's still treated better than most of the women's division in wrestling today. So try to find the good in TNA because it's there. It really is there. You just got to get past those 6 letters. LOL TNA. All that said, I am really looking forward to 2025 for TNA. I'm looking forward to continuing with the Gym Packed Zone. We got a lot more people at Mark It Down now. got to say thank you to everybody. We have a lot of new followers. We have a lot of new friends. We have old friends too. Chris LeClaire, thank you for being here. Danny, love having you. And even in the comments, bud. So if you're new, thank you for checking us out. If you're an oldie but goodie, the ride's just getting better, isn't it? You guys know the deal. I was talking about it earlier. We're all over. All right. We're not just here on YouTube. We're on X. We're on TikTok. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. We're on Blue Sky. We're everywhere. So check us out. We've got our tags are in the description below. Go check us out there. Hit us up. Matt and Danny do great funny stuff on social media. They deserve an audience. And guys, I'll be honest with you. I'm tired. So please like and subscribe. Gonna cough again really quick. This is gonna be a big. And bear with me as I die in front of you on this screen. But I am James Gisanti. This is the Market Down podcast. And when we cover TNA, this is the Gym Packed Zone. So thank you for making a Gym Packed. Thank you for being with me. Have a good night. And as always, we have a comment. I'm doing my best, pal. As always, watch wrestling. And of course, as always, watch TNA. Have a good night, guys.